There is nothing you could pay me, give me, or do for me that would ever convince me to lower my behind down into a lagoon and flap my arms like a dying goose, hoping I stay afloat when I know I can't swim. I'm not doing it. Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel and to this new series where I am dissecting TLC's Love and Translation, a multicultural dating show where no one speaks the same language and yet everybody hopes to fall in love. Last week's video was an intro to the series where I talked about the people, the plot, and the problems that I expect to pop up throughout the course of the show. This week we're going to be finishing up the events of episode 1 and moving into episode 2. If you're enjoying this series thus far, please let me know by leaving a like on the video or by leaving a comment down below. I would love to hear from you all. From the beginning of the show, Imani has been really fixated on having the biggest room.
J'espère vraiment que j'ai la meilleure des chances parce que j'en ai besoin.
When she finds out that the guys are actually the ones that have the biggest room and supposedly the best view in all the villa, she gets upset and essentially throws a tantrum. She complains to the women about how much she doesn't like it, and then she decides that she is going to go up to the men's room and tell them just how she feels about the fact that she doesn't have their room. The men have just been sent up to their room to debate which women they would like to choose for their solo dates the next day. It gets really awkward really quickly. She demands in French to know what they've done to deserve the biggest room while she is forced to bunk with a bunch of women in a shared room. She points deliberately to each one of the three men, then goes like this with her hands and says in French, "You're not welcome here." She claims it was a joke, but the guys were confused because obviously they don't speak French. They're thinking, well, is she telling us that she doesn't want for us to choose her for the date tomorrow? What's going on? Imani insists on staying in the room, even though Trip makes it very obvious through his body language that he wants her out. So the guys pick up and they go to a different part of the villa to continue debating. They kind of chalk it up to a cultural difference, but in all of my research on Moroccan culture when it comes to communication styles and conflict, it seems more like Moroccans are focused on saving face and not trying to have conflict or not trying to make people feel bad. I personally think her behavior had very little to do with Moroccan culture and much more with her being a disagreeable person. Once the guys relocate to a different part of the villa, they solidify their choices. Trip is interested in Sara from Italy and also Giselle from Brazil. Dylan is interested in Tulay from Germany, and Khalil is interested in both Jennifer from Brazil and Heidi from Japan. I didn't mention much about Dylan and Khalil in the last video because I was so distracted by the caveman that is Trip.
You deep. Squat, lots of weight. Ooh.
Both Dylan and Khalil come from mixed race households. Dylan's mother is from Belize, his father is white. Khalil's mother is Trinidadian, Chinese and white, and his father is Jamaican. I think Dylan and Khalil have a leg up because they're both tied to a multicultural framework outside of the show. They're more attuned to the women's behaviors and how what they're doing might be a representation of their culture. I'm not gonna lie, Khalil is my favorite. I feel like he puts forth the best effort in trying to communicate with the women instead of talking at them. He is actually the one that lets Trip and Dylan know that Heidi potentially wouldn't look at them during the 2-minute gaze challenge because in Japanese culture it's inappropriate to stare. I like him. I think that both of them are just cute. All the things crossed, I hope that something happens with the two of them, something positive. Trip is the first of the men to brave the group of women and ask Sara on a date, and she says
No.
No?
good for Sara. Then Trip decides that he's going to ask Giselle on a date, and she accepts. Dylan asks Tulay, Khalil asks Jennifer, and the three couples are set to go on their date the next day. Y'all, every time I watched the show back to make sure that my notes were correct, I had absolute anxiety at the idea of this date. This bus takes these three couples into a secluded area of the Dominican Republic where there is a lagoon so that they can zip line over it and free fall into the water, y'all. Free fall. And then have a picnic afterwards. Absolutely not. I don't swim. I don't like heights. I don't like any of this. Now, the host claims that the idea behind this date is that When your adrenaline is pumping, you're more attracted to somebody of the opposite sex. Surprisingly, that's a major oversimplification of what the science actually says. The producer's inspiration for this date seems to come from a 1970 study called the misattribution of arousal. It involved a group of men crossing either a sturdy bridge or a shaky suspension bridge. After crossing the bridges, all of the men were approached by an attractive woman who struck up conversation with them. The men who crossed the scary bridge were more likely to find the woman attractive afterwards and pursue her. The twist, though, is that the men that crossed that scarier suspension bridge confused that heightened state of arousal from the fear and from the adrenaline with attraction to the woman. Hence the idea of misattribution. It's like when people say taking your date to a horror movie is a good idea because that fear, that excitement, that adrenaline coursing through the person can make them feel like they are actually attracted to you, which feels manipulative, but we're not going to get into that right now. After the couples risk their lives, they have their individual picnics. We get to observe Dylan and Tulay interacting together on their picnic first, but of course they don't understand each other. I think what saves Dylan is he just keeps the energy light. He's very jovial and bright, but in the process of them communicating or trying to, he starts to heavily flirt. At one point, he asks Tulay if she would give him a kiss. She pretends she has no clue what he's saying so that she can avoid the situation. But in a side interview, she admits that she's not somebody that kisses on the first date and it feels a little too rushed.
Maybe foreign girls move a little differently in Germany.
Out of curiosity, I researched the kissing customs in Germany and found that as a whole, Germans tend to be more reserved when it comes to public displays of affection. Kisses are perceived to be something much more intimate than in the United States. I've included some really interesting points that I found on the screen so that you can pause to read if you would like. Now, if Dylan and Tulay didn't get far in conversation, Trip and Giselle never got to the starting line, y'all. It was so bad. A big difference when I compare the two men and the way that they interact with their dates is that Dylan was actually engaging and laughing at himself when he didn't understand certain things. He was still trying to have some sort of engagement back and forth with Tulay. Trip kind of pushes through the conversation and just pretends that Giselle understands him.
When I saw your eyes, I could see you understand.
And that's a huge no-no if you're trying to get to know somebody who does not speak your language. If your goal is just to get through a conversation instead of connecting with a person in different ways, you miss so much. And boy, did he miss majorly. Trip has the great idea that they should get back in the water and swim over to a cave. Giselle cannot swim, and she says so multiple times
Eu não sei nadar. Já não sei nadar. Eu não sei nadar.
in Portuguese, but she does say it. I don't understand because neither one of them tried to use additional body language to confirm if the other was interested in doing this activity or whether or not they couldn't swim. Giselle should have been up in there like, no, no. And she didn't do any of that. She just follows Trip to the water. He guides her in with her hand, pulls her into the lagoon with him, lets her go, and then just takes off to the cave. Listen, I am the biggest lily-livered scaredy cat chicken heart you have ever met in your entire life. There is nothing you can pay me, give me, or do for me that would ever convince me to lower my behind down into a lagoon where there's murky depths underneath and you can't tell what's going on and flap my arms like a dying goose hoping I stay afloat when I know I can't swim. I'm not doing it. It was definitely the result of very poor communication on both of their parts, but she was the one that decided to get in the water. Once Trip finally realizes that she can't swim, he rescues her while also blaming her.
I didn't know you didn't say you couldn't swim. What?
And we get to witness another instance of misattribution of arousal when they decide to make out in the middle of the lagoon. Now supposedly they have this intense connection because of the fear of almost most drowning that they've experienced together. I bet it's going to be more intense on Gizelle's part than Tripp's, and I guarantee that if he shows interest in any other woman on this show, she is going to lose her absolute mind because he saved her life in all of this nonsense. She did it to herself. Last but most interesting to observe was the date between Khalil and Jennifer. Jennifer actually says the night before that she's not really interested in Khalil, but she wanted to go on the date to give it a shot. Man, it shows. In my opinion, Khalil does such a good job of trying to connect with this woman and have conversations with her. He tries even to communicate with her in a little bit of broken Spanish, even though she speaks Portuguese. His body language is great. I think his downfall was going too intense too quickly.
What are you passionate about?
He even says at a point that he's there to find his forever girl, so he's got to get answers to the nitty-gritty questions.
Are you looking for marriage?
This is not the environment in which you can do this.
Kids?
No.
No kids. Not even one?
Não entendi.
Of course she doesn't understand what it is that he is saying, and so she immediately shuts down. What I don't like about Jennifer is that the moment it got hard, she just stopped, and then she criticizes his approach.
I'm talking, and he's acting like he's understanding me with a blank look on his face.
The irony of this situation is that they actually understood each other quite well a few times throughout the day.
They split.
Quando você era pequena, eles se separaram. Ah.
Yeah, when I was young, yeah.
It was just a waste of his time and her time. If she wasn't interested, she shouldn't have gone to begin with. Khalil ends the date feeling disappointed and disinterested in Jennifer now because he wasn't able to get the answers that he wanted. The key to dating with a language barrier is honestly patience. And had Khalil taken more time in the beginning to ask simple questions and then move up to the bigger things, I think they might have had a different kind of date. Back at the house, the women that were not chosen for the date are kind of salty, and Imani is back to being a pot stirrer. She really likes Dylan, so she suggests to the women that what they should do is doll themselves up and get ready for flirting with the guys when they come back from their solo dates so that they can irritate and make the other women jealous. Jam even suggests a game of spin the bottle, which Tulay and Gizelle are not fans of. Look at these stank faces, y'all. After that game, everybody that went on the solo dates goes to take a shower. The women's rooms and bathrooms are on the first level, and the guys are upstairs. The women notice that Tulay also goes upstairs and takes a shower and comes down. Now she goes by herself. Dylan is already downstairs when she comes out of the shower, but Imani is not having it, and she lays into Tulay, causing this really big blow-up argument.
Si une sieste se touche en haut alors que sa chambre est en bas, je suis désolée, mais c'est normal si je pose la question, ok?
One of the things that Imani says to defend herself is that in her culture, you don't do that. You don't go and shower in the same area that a man is showering. And maybe that is a thing in Moroccan culture, but I also feel that it was an excuse on Imani's part because she is jealous. Tulay seems really low-key, and she's not about this back and forth and escalated voices thing. She just goes to her room and stays up there for the rest of the night. Sarah takes advantage of Tulay's absence to flirt with Dylan and try and form a connection. At least the episode ends on a high note because Khalil and Airi finally make a connection. It was really cute because she does try to explain to him why she had such a difficult time with the gaze challenge, and he convinces her that it's fine.
Aidi's definitely standing out to me. Once I look away, you can look at me.
They're cute. They're cute, y'all. What else can I say? They are really cute. This episode was chock full of what not to do when you are dating somebody with a language barrier. So before we end this video, I would like to leave you with 3 tips on what you can do if you ever find yourself in a relationship or interested in somebody who doesn't speak your language. Tip number 1. Ditch the death-defying dates, okay? Do something much simpler like a walk in the park so that the stakes aren't as high. Walking around changes the scenery and gives you both different things to point at and communicate about. Plus, you don't risk drowning like Gizelle. Tip number 2, think visually. Pictures and body language can be powerful tools for communication. Use photos on your phone to show them your family and invite them to do the same thing for you. It creates the opportunity to learn more about that person even without without words, and also could serve as kind of an icebreaker. Drawing counts too. Taking a paint class or an art class together would be a great idea to connect and express your creative sides. Tip number 3, learn a few phrases in that person's language. Even the basic stuff, like some everyday greetings or thank you, shows that you're interested in some sort of a cultural exchange and can encourage the two of you to learn each other's languages as you get to know each other more. And that, y'all, is episode 2. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this misattribution of arousal study. It blew my mind and also was really disturbing at the same time. There are people that probably look at that kind of stuff and use it to manipulate people in their dating lives. Is it ethical to put people in situations where it's difficult to communicate, like when Giselle almost drowned? Be sure to use the comments to let me know what your feelings and thoughts are. As we always say on our channel, with God, all things are possible, and I will see you next Wednesday. Take care.